Okay, we're going to continue. Thanks for closing the window. Wonderful. And Camille is going to tell us a bit about Lucene upgrading in Jira 8.
Okay, let's start. Good afternoon, and welcome to the talk about Lucene Upgrade in Jira 8, with a catchy title, How We Fought and Killed the Code Debt Beast. My name is Kamil Cichy. I work for Spartes in Gdańsk in Poland as a software developer working on Jira Server. And you probably know the company Atlassian. It's the company behind products such as Jira, Confluence, and Bitbucket, and other tools that let your teams collaborate more efficiently. And Spartes is a very close partner of Atlassian, and we help them develop products such as Jira, Bamboo, Fisheye, and Crucible. Sorry, yeah. And this talk will be about Jira. Does anybody in here use Jira? Almost everybody. That's very nice to see. So I don't have to really explain. It's an issue tracker and project management tool. You can put everything in Jira, and then you can manage your issues, saying what's in progress, what's been done, what's still left to do, and everybody is on the same page thanks to that. But as soon as you have more than, say, 10 issues, you need an efficient way to find them. And this is why search is so important in Jira. We even have our own language called JQL, where you can put attributes of issues, and then based on that, Jira will return you the result. And even this board, which shows you the sprint, this is backed by search as well. So search is the crucial part of Jira. This search is based on Lucene. So we have an index, and we put all of the fields there. So we have system fields, which are the ones that come with Jira out of the box, such as summary, description, comments, who created that issue, who is assigned to it. But we also have custom fields, which can be configurable by admin, and they can choose from what Jira provides, fields like dates or text, numbers, but also they can be extendable by plugins. So plugin vendors can provide any type of custom field you can dream of. And apart from that, a very important part of the index is permissions, because in Jira you cannot see everything potentially, because there might be permissions just for some people to see certain issues, and this has to be handled by the search engine, because otherwise it would be too slow if we went to the database to ask whether you can see this particular result or not. And let's move to the main part of this talk, which is Lucene Upgrade, because it's so important. We should be really up to date with what Lucene offers us. In fact, we tell our clients to update Jira regularly. We say, get the latest version, get bug fixes, get new features. But unfortunately, we don't always pray as we preach. And if you look at Jira 7, it comes with Lucene 3.3. which was released in 2011. To make matters worse, it's a -Atlassian-2 version, which contains two crucial bug fixes ported from version 4. So you might wonder why we are using such an old version. And this is down to what happened with Lucene between versions 3 and 4. The API was broken in a backwards incompatible way. And this meant that the upgrade was non-trivial. I'm not saying it was a bad decision, because the new API is better, but for us, it required effort to upgrade, so it was put off for some better time in the future. And this time took 7 years. With time, this upgrade project looked like climbing a high mountain. So we started here at the bottom with Lucene 3.3, and there was this shiny Lucene 7.2 at the top. But how do we get up there? First, we meet some dead bodies of people who try to upgrade in the future. They spend maybe a day or two to upgrade, but oh, sorry, this clicker is very strange. Sorry for that. So they try to upgrade. They spend maybe a day or two, but but they failed because it wasn't doable in such a short time. And then there's lots of old code that nobody has touched for years. And then there were unknown gains. Imagine coming to your product manager and saying, we would like to upgrade Lucene. It's going to take maybe a month, maybe 6 months. We don't really know. We don't know if it's going to be any better. Let's do it. It's not an easy sell, as you can see. Then there was this new Lucene API, which we didn't know when we started because we were stuck on the old one. So we had to learn on the way. And lastly, very important, is the impact on app vendors. So plugins can use Lucene Index in Jira. And when we upgrade Lucene, they have to upgrade their plugins as well. And there is a big ecosystem of plugins on Atlassian Marketplace, and there are people writing their own plugins internally. And all of those who used Lucene in a more advanced way had to upgrade, which meant that we could only upgrade Lucene in a major version, like Jira 8.0, which is coming out in a few days. So we went for it. The expectations were rather low. Let's just make it not any worse than it was. And let's be more up to date. So then we can get some help online, for example, for Stack Overflow if we have a problem. There are probably more people who know the current Lucene than those who remember what happened 7 years ago. Effort-wise, it took 2 developers 3 weeks just to make the code compile with the new Lucene, then another month to make unit and functional tests green, and then the whole team jumped in, and we spent 6 months. This is not just to make it work. We took the momentum that we had, and we decided to use as much as we could from Lucene to make search and indexing in Jira better. So we wanted to catch the benefits of what the new Lucene gave us. So this is what we did on Jira Platform. So this is the base, but then there are products built on top of that, such as Jira Service Desk, Jira Portfolio, and also there are those plugin vendors, and they had to put effort in as well. So you can see it wasn't a very simple operation. And do I think it was worth it? Yes, with the benefit of hindsight, I think it was worth the effort. Indexing is now 2.5 times faster, which means when you set up Jira from a backup or when you need to reindex because you changed the configuration in a major way, you get shorter downtime. And also you need less infrastructure to run Jira, which means you need to pay less money for your hardware. Then index is twice smaller, then you need less disk space. And search is 5 times faster. These are the numbers we get from our testing instance. We have 1 million issue instance where we run automated tests, but that one doesn't have any applications on top of that and plugins, so your mileage might vary and the results might be slightly different for you. And I couldn't resist to take a very liberal approach to statistics. I took an average of these 3 numbers. And in total, Jira is 3.17 times better than the old one. But apart from these numbers, that's not everything. Optimize is now gone in the in new Lucene. And to understand how it worked in the past, we need to look at segments. So this shows us segments of Lucene. Once you index something, it becomes immutable. And the only thing you can do to it is to remove documents, mark documents as deleted. When you add new issues, you create new segments. Then you add more segments, and when you have too many segments, you merge them. So after full index of Jira, the index would look like that. But in Lucene 3.3, there was this method called optimize. And if I asked any of you, would you like your index to be optimal? Everybody would go, yes, let's go for it. So we did the optimize. What it did was merge everything into one big segment. And that meant that you didn't have to go to different files when searching. So in some sense, it was a bit better. But the problem was when you added new issues or modifications, you had these new segments, but they were so much smaller than the big one, they could never be merged together. Then you started deletes from the big one, but it was still too large to be merged. And that was a problem. And if we now compare, because now this optimize is gone, we can compare Jira 7 to Jira 8 performance-wise. If you look at this, actually, when we first measured, Jira 8 was slower than Jira 7. We took our 1 million issues. We ran the test of searching by text, very simple test, and it took only 200 milliseconds in Jira 7, but it took almost 400 milliseconds in Jira 8. That was not what we expected, was it? But then we recalled that optimize, and we thought, okay, Jira 7 was merged into one segment. So what if we apply a week of work, say updates to the issues, commenting, creating new issues, and you rerun the same search again? This is what happened to Jira 7. It degraded very badly, while Jira 8 is intact. And this is a big pain for Jira 7 customers because they have this optimized index, which means that they index over the weekend. It works fine on Monday, but by the time Friday comes, it really slows down. So they have a weekly routine to reindex Jira, and now this problem is gone, and they can enjoy new Jira. That was search by text. If you search by assignee, which is simpler, they start head-to-head. But then again, 7 degrades while 8 stays intact. If you search by created date, Jira 8 is 3 times faster, and that is because now we index dates as numbers rather than as text, and doing range queries on numbers is faster than doing range queries on strings. And again, there was degradation in Jira 7. Another thing that we got with the new Lucene, actually we lost again, was field cache. Field cache was this data structure that answered the question, what is the value of my field across all documents? So for example, what is the value of the assignee in all my issues? The problem with this was twofold. First, it was calculated on demand, so you'd have to scan your index and put that. And the second problem was where you put it. You put it on heap, which meant that your heap usage was increasing over time. And as ever good cache, it was never freed in Jira. So now this is gone, so we had to move to the new thing, which is doc values. It's more or less the same mechanism, but it's built during indexing. And when you need it, it's already there. You just pull it from the disk once you need it, and as soon as you don't need it anymore, the OS will swap it out for you. So there will be no impact on GC. Another thing that we got improved was resiliency. Jira 7 compared to Jira 3 is more resilient when it comes to abrupt failures of your machine. So in Jira 3, when you were indexing something and the power went off, you might end up with corrupted index, and that would lead to well, the index was corrupted, so you had to reindex it. And for our biggest customers, that would be a week of outage of Jira. And Jira 7 now doesn't have this problem. And there is a funny story that I heard from Uwe about Mike McCandles, who was testing this new Lucene that it cannot be corrupted. So he set up 2 machines, and one machine was controlling the power outlet of the other machine. He was indexing something and pulling the plug, and then making sure that the index was not corrupted. And this is something that you get when you update libraries. Somebody did the hard work, and you get it, so it's always a good idea to upgrade. And we did work on our side as well. When Jira has a new issue or issue update, we put that on a queue of issues to be indexed. But when your machine dies, sometimes Jira lost that queue, and now we improve that, so everything will be in your index when you restart Jira. And the last big change that we did was around permissions. Permissions, as I told you, is a big thing in Jira. It's a very flexible mechanism. You can say everybody can see your issues, or you can say only people who are logged into your application can see issues, or only people, only the project lead, the person who reported it, and the person who is assigned to it can see those issues. Or only members of a group can see that issue, or only members of a group which is set to a value of a custom field on that issue can see that issue. And all of that has to be handled by the index. So to understand the change, let's have a look at a very simple model of an issue. It has a project, it's in project 2, It's a summary improve permissions. It's assigned to Uwe. You will soon learn why. And then it has custom field 1 with value group 2. And this is what we need for searching. But we now added a new field, project permissions, where we index combinations of these values. So we index P2 for project, P2 assignee Uwe for pair of project and assignee, and then P2 custom field 1 group 2 for the pair of project and custom field. And now let's see how the search looks like. Say I'm searching for summary is like permissions. This is what I want to see. But on top of that, Jira needs to add a permission query which will limit the results to what I am allowed to see. We'll be building 2 permission queries, one in the old style, which will be a Boolean query, and the new one, which will be a term in set query. Term in set is a query which will match as long as there is one element in the query that matches one element that was indexed in the new field project permissions. So we'll be following my artificial project permissions scheme. So let's say I'm allowed to see issues from project 1. In the old way, it would be just project 1, and in the new way, we add value to the terms in set query saying P1. Then I'm also allowed to see issues from project 2, which are assigned to me. So then that will be project 2 and assignee equals Kamil. In the new world, it's one term which says P2 assignee Kamil. Then I'm also allowed to see issues in project 2 as long as I'm a member of a group in that custom field. So say I'm a member of 3 groups, group 1, 2, and 3. So the Boolean query becomes project 2 and custom field group 1, group 2, or group 3. In the new one, we flatten that. We explode the Boolean query to terms. So they become single terms rather than combinations of a Boolean. And this one matches. You can see that project 2 and custom field 1 equals group 2 matches what we have in the issue. And in the new mechanism, I clicked but it didn't move. In the new mechanism, you can see that the term matches what we index under project permissions, so I would be able to see that issue in both cases. Then we can go for project 3, which has the same permissions, and project 4, which has a different permission scheme. This might look complicated. In fact, it's a rather simple query. It has 4 projects, and I'm a member of 3 groups. Imagine in real life there would be 1,000 projects, and I would be a member of, say, 50 groups. The query would become huge. And then Lucene had to go to these ands and ors and ands, trying to evaluate that against your issue, and that was slower. And looking at this, to your eyes, they might look similar in size, but this one is much easier to evaluate because it's just a set of terms, and you need to find a common value between these two, and as soon as you find one, you're done. So this one is faster, and in fact, it's actually 5 times faster when we compared running search just before we merged data fix, and just after it became 5 times faster. We cannot take all the credit for this idea, which moves us to the next topic, which is partnership with Uwe. When we started our journey up that mountain of upgrading Lucene, we decided to get some help, external help from a consultant who knew Lucene. We reached a company named Flux, and they directed us to Uwe. Uwe came on site, and we spent a week with him. First, he gave us lectures, what has changed between Lucene 3 and 7, and then we spent 3 days looking at our code to see how we can improve it. And some of you might be worried that when you invite an expert, you need to have questions. But the good thing about working with experts is you don't need yes/no questions. You can just show them your problems, and they'll come up with solutions. For example, the new permission query is an idea by Uwe. We just told him our permission is slow. Can you think of something better? Also, when you work with experts, they will tell you what not to do. For example, every issue has ID, which is a number, and we wanted to change that to be no longer a string, but a number in Lucene. But Uwe told us that what Lucene has been doing for the past 10 years is searching for strings, so that's much more optimized than searching for numbers. Searching for numbers is actually a range query. So when you look for an exact value, it's better to keep it as string, even though it's a number. And this is something that we wouldn't have known if we hadn't spoken with Uwe. And we probably would have fallen into that trap. In the future, because Jira is much better now than it was, but it's always constant work to improve it. We want to improve the way we manage index in DC. So when you have multiple Jira nodes, so instances of Jira which share one database, but they have their own local indexes, we have a mechanism to copy the index between nodes if there is a failure of one node, and we want to improve that. Also, we want to increase the indexing speed because we identified some inefficiencies in the way we index, and we need to improve our APIs because currently a plugin can run a query in Jira saying, give me all 1 million issues sorted at once, and that can bring the instance down. So we need to find a way how to avoid that. At the same time, not stop the functionality of those plugins. And if you find any of this interesting, we are always hungry for talents. So go to spartus.com/careers. And I would like to leave you with 3 thoughts. It's always good to ask someone who knows rather than reinvent the wheel. So whether it's your colleague or a consultant that you need to pay, it's probably worth the money. Paying off code debt pays off. So when you pay your mortgage, you don't get anything new in return. You just stay in your house. But when you pay off code debt, you can get more results than you actually expected. And the last one is never lose hope in your code. Even if you haven't done something for, say, 7 years, and you think there's no way you can get out of code debt, there is hope. Our example shows that it is possible. Thank you. I think we have 3 minutes for questions, and I brought some T-shirts for those who ask questions.
Okay. It may be a silly question, but would it be any worth to use Elasticsearch instead of Lucene? What would the trade-off be?
Okay, so the question is, would it be worth to use Elasticsearch instead of Lucene? It would probably be. We are considering that, but it will be a much bigger change than this upgrade to the way the Jira is deployed and so on. It will work with the multi-instance Jira, for example, DC, where you have multiple nodes. Then you would have just one Elasticsearch infrastructure. But we need to see whether it's worth the effort in terms of the operation. So this T-shirt is taken. Next.
I guess this was about Jira Server or Data Center, but what about Jira Cloud?
So in Jira,
The biggest difference between how the indexing works between
in Jira Cloud, they have a different mechanism based on Postgres because in Jira Server, we don't know what the database would be. It might be Postgres, might be Oracle, might be other database. So we have the index. But in Jira Cloud, they know it's Postgres, so they can optimize the search on Postgres, and they don't need Lucene at all.
So how did you sell the project to your product manager after all?
The question is how we sold it to the product manager.
7 people for 6 months, just the prototype took, 2 developers a month?
Yeah, the question is how we sold it if it took 6 months of work. Well, we told them it's going to take 3 weeks. But then we just said what are the possible improvements, how it can fix problems of clients which are running into issues such as this degrading index and so on. So we told them it's not just our idea, just to be I don't know, better developers, we convince them it's going to improve the product.